Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Wild Spear. Today we are talking about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, Episode 7's Power Rankings. Who are the top contenders for the crown? We have 9 queens left. Let's get started. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, this is the criteria that I go through to define who the top queens are. As everyone knows, track record is everyone's favorite thing within RuPaul's Drag Race. How well are people doing? Who's in the top? Who's in the bottom? Whatever. It's a part of my criteria too. If they win, they get the dark blue. If they're in the bottom, they get the dark red. They get the light red if they get negative critiques, and they get the light blue if they get positive critiques. This might be different than what some people see in their own track record, so that's why you'll see a couple differences. Otherwise, we've got confessionals. If they're the top queen of the week in number of confessionals, they'll get the dark blue. And if they're the bottom queen, they'll get the dark red. And on top of that, we also just talk about vibes. So what is the vibe that this queen is giving? Are they getting good content? Are they getting bad content? What are the producers saying about this queen? That's telling us how they're going to do in the competition. So they might not be top track record, they might not be top confessional, but you just get good vibes from them. So that's why that's part of my criteria as well. So let's dive into the power rankings. Before we talk about who's the top contender for the crown, we have to talk about Megami, who kind of got assassinated in this most recent episode. I don't think she was one of the worst. She didn't do amazing in the Rusical, but a lot of people seemed to kind of do similar to Megami. And I think they really chose her because they didn't really care about what she was doing, what she was giving to everyone on the season. She had her big moment when she orchestrated the win in the girl group challenge. But this episode, there was no stopping Megami. And she got my least favorite critique, which is change your makeup. Even though her makeup does look a little bit different each time, but we don't get that same critique for Morphine, or we don't get the same critique for Tsunami. They have the same makeup every week, but that's just what the judges choose to dwell on. We love you, Michelle. We love your consistent critiques. So, sorry Megami, you were a lot of fun to watch, and we hope to see more queens like you in the future. Now on to the power rankings. In 9th place, I have Maya Iman LePage, my favorite queen of the season, and I think she keeps showing us why she's amazing. She's super shy. She eats the wax off of cheese, apparently. So that just shows why she's a lot of fun. But anyway, the track record and the confessionals really speak for themselves here. She's 9th place. The judges don't really care for her unless she's lip syncing, and she really probably should have done better in the Rusical since she's such a performer. But she did really lose herself a little bit in the performances, and probably deserved her bottom placement this week. That's why she is in at number 9. I do hope that she gets out of her shell. She can start translating her lip syncs to her performance in the competition. But for now, that's why I've got Maya at number 9. At number 8, I have Tsunami Muse. And Tsunami is somebody that they really could have assassinated the same way that they did with Megami, because she really just faded into the background. You don't even know that she's there in the competition or in the Rusical this week. She has very low confessionals. She's been consistently safe. I put her low the first week because she did get negative critiques. So that's why that's why Tsunami is so low this week. She's at number 8, but I did have her jumping up above Maya for that same reason that I just mentioned before. Because they could have assassinated her, they could have put her in the bottom instead of Morphine, but they didn't. They just want to keep her consistently in the middle. And that's probably what we're going to keep seeing if the queens keep doing the same as they've been doing, people jumping up and down. But as soon as we lose some of the people that are more expendable, Tsunami is next to go if she doesn't start killing the competition. So that's why she is here at number 8. At number 7, I have Morphine. I have her above Tsunami because she is the narrator of the season. She has the most confessionals of any queen. She keeps having a lot of confessionals regardless of how she places. And this week she broke her streak of being consistently safe by being in the low position on the week of the Rusical. I think they really tried to sell us on why Morphine was there by showing her missing up a couple of the lip syncs within the musical, but otherwise, she did a pretty solid performance. Not really memorable, but also not really terrible. So that's why it was interesting to see them start to sacrifice Morphine's track record over somebody like Tsunami, who I forgot to mention that horrible runway was not my favorite. Tsunami didn't line the sleeves of her outfit, which is fine. That's a nice critique, and it's correct. But that's why we saw Morphine in the bottom this week. That was the main reason. So at this point, I think Morphine needs to start kicking it up a notch in the performances. I think she's really sailing in the middle, and I don't see her breaking out unless she starts to do more in this season. At number 6, I have Dawn. And I think Dawn did solid this week. She's getting more content as the season goes on. She started pretty low in terms of content with very low confessionals in the first episode, but since then she's continued to get more and more overall, and she's managed to stay safe even though she hasn't been a dancer. And she said she hates musical theater. She still did pretty okay within the musical. That's why I have her here at number 6, because she's also one of those queens that's kind of fading to the background, except for when she's not speaking, or when she's speaking with Plain Jane and starting to be a little bit shady, which I think could help propel her towards the end. The problem is we already have a villain of the season, and that's Plain Jane, so Dawn isn't really having much room to grow beyond being such a talented seamstress. That's all we really get from Dawn. So with her middling track record and her middling confessions, she's at number 6. At number 5, I have Q. And the reason that I have Q, even though she has one of the best track records, tied for first place, and a decent amount of confessionals, why I have her at number 5 as opposed to higher, is that she got shaded by another queen during the critiques, which is one of the first times that I've seen that in a long time. They probably and had done that in the earlier seasons, I don't remember for sure, but they haven't done anything like that in a long time, which is why I have Q here at number 5. The judges are telling us that she is getting the praise, but she might be a little bit delusional about the praise that she's even getting. And that's why I have Q here at number 5. I don't think that she's going to run away as the winner, just with the way that she's been perceived by the audience and just the vibes that we're getting from Q. That's why I've got her here at number 5. At number 4, I have Plain Jane, somebody tied for the highest track record and has a lot of confessionals as well. We're always hearing what Plain Jane has to say, but again, she's the villain of the season. Last week, I started to feel like she was getting a bit of a redemption arc, and I still feel like she's been more redeemed than how she started the season, but for now, I don't see Plain Jane as the winner of the season. She really needs to clean up her act and start giving us more of the positive content in order to really sell herself as a winner. I think she's somebody that will for sure make it to the end, but I don't think at this point she's a viable winner option. Kind of like what we saw last year with Mistress, who was very much a villain and did really well on the season, but we knew they weren't going to crown her at the end of the day because of the fan perception. So at this point, Plain Jane, number 4. I have my first shake-up since I started doing these videos with Nymphia Wynn, dropping from number 1 all the way to number 3. She's done amazing, tied for first in track record, won 2 challenges, but the problem is we're just not seeing anything from her. There have been 2 episodes now where we've gotten 1 or 0 confessionals from Nymphia. It's almost like she wasn't there in the most recent episode. We know she was there because she talked about pine cones in the musical, but we had no lead up to what she was doing. We had no story about how she was gonna do. We hardly heard from her at all. And that's not a good sign. To have maybe 1 week is fine, but to have multiple weeks where this is happening, I am just surprised that they're doing that to Nymphia for somebody who is very clearly a fan favorite. And I don't know if they're trying to hide some of her weaker performances. From what we saw, she didn't look like she was doing particularly bad, but again, it's the editing, of course. And it's just interesting to see Nymphia kind of hiding in the background. Based on the preview for the next episode where it looks like she's playing Jane Goodall in the Snatch game, it could be really funny or really bad. And based on what they showed us, it's supposed to be really bad from Rue's face. But, it's all editing. So, love to see more of Nymphia. I think she's still a strong contender for the crown, but until we start seeing more from her, we have to wait and see. At number 2, I have Sapphira Cristál, who had an amazing runway this week, and I think she's somebody who is clearly on the rise. She is the only one who could have really beaten Plasma or beaten that main role with her performance, and she almost did with that amazing runway. But alas, Plasma was the winner and the rightful winner. But otherwise, Sapphira is continuing to kill the competition. She hasn't had a bottom placement. She, although used her immunity potion, she is still doing well across all the challenges she didn't need to. The only problem is we're not getting as much content from Sapphira as we are from some of the other queens, which isn't always a problem. That's why I weight Confessionals a little bit lower than the track record and the vibes. But for now, Sapphira I have rising to number 2 because she really killed that challenge. I think that the queens are starting to see that she is one of the front runners and she's the mother figure of the season, which is always a good thing if you want to be the crowned queen. We saw it last year with Sasha Colby. This is sort of a lesser extent with someone that doesn't have as much of her status, but she's here, she's fun to watch, and she's doing amazing. And with all of that said, number 1 is Plasma. Plasma is somebody who I had initially not placed as high when the season started. I jumped her up pretty high after she did really well in that girl group challenge, but then I dropped her last week after the critiques that she got on her doll outfit. At the end of the day, I think I dropped her too low. I dropped her all the way to 6th last week, and I think they put her in the bottom not because her outfit was terrible, but because they wanted to have all those blue looks on the stage at the same time with Geneva and Plain Jane and Plasma all using the same fabric. They wanted to show the differences between those. So at the end of the day, I don't weight her low placement too terribly because her look wasn't that bad. And this week, she killed the challenge. She was the clear winner, other than maybe Sapphira. In the other challenge that she won, which was the SNL parody, she obviously was the winner there as well. She's the only queen besides Nymphia who's been able to really dominate that performance. And the other good thing that Plasma has going for her is that she has the second most confessionals of any queen, only behind Morphine, and she has the track record to back it up, unlike Morphine, which is why I have her all the way here at number 1. And I think it might be time that Rue was like, yeah, let's actually crown one of these theater queens. We didn't crown Jan, we didn't crown Rosé, even though both of them did amazing on their seasons. She's actually getting the treatment that I think a lot of queens may have gotten in the past or could have gotten, but production didn't want to give to. So at the end of the day, Plasma is my number 1. I think she is a strong contender for the crown and somebody that I didn't see at the start of the season being a strong contender. But here we are. We are on episode 7, and I've got Plasma at number 1, and I'm not sorry about it. So tell me, what do you think? Do you think that Plasma is really number 1? Is Nymphia going to snatch the crown? Was Tsunami's look that bad on this challenge? Let me know. And if you have any feedback for me, love to hear it. Still figuring out what I'm doing here. So please share them in the comments. See you next week.